big. There was one issue where San Mateo County Board of Supervisors actually stepped in, but that's rare. Usually they don't have much to say about it.
Sure, sure. So, what do you think we should do?
Palo Alto, I don't know what Palo Alto can do because it's in the hands, but I thought it was good that Palo Alto took a stand in favor of a definite build-out limit. I mean, we really feel for our future generations it's important to preserve Foothills. You know, what are we leaving behind us? And I've had a concern for a long time about overbuilding of offices relative to housing. You know, I know offices are much more lucrative.
Sure, yeah.
You know, so where I live, you know, our local stores have been largely edged out by office buildings so that we have to drive, get in a car and drive every time we want to take care of needs, you know. It's really unfortunate.
So, what do you think we should do? Just continue to have more restrictions, or?
Well, yeah, I would say, among other things, they should be held to a standard of providing housing for the influx of students and staff and the contract workers. I don't think they offer any housing to the low-wage contract workers. And I have been involved, to some extent, with groups that have asked that the contract workers be given better wages, but they don't get better wages usually. You know, and then Stanford just says, well, they're not our employees, which is a bit disingenuous, I think.
It's true. Well, I mean, I think technically they're not, but they're they're working for Stanford still. So, yeah, I think Stanford has a responsibility. And there should be no net new automobile trips or no net new parking. You know, the Marguerite, you know, I've tried to use the Marguerite a couple of times, but it just didn't work. It just doesn't go where I need it to go. That's a big problem, right? It's kind of like the last mile mobility issue. Yeah.
So, and there's nothing you can do about it, but I'll just mention, you know, every time I pick up a newspaper or watch TV, there's advertising from Stanford, as though they, you know, they say they need more buildings. This is the medical center, of course. You know, because they have so many people, but they're always advertising for more people, which seems not terribly honest on their part, you know. And I've noticed a real deterioration of my access. I get a lot of my medical care, not all of it, from Stanford. So if I have to go in for a test, last time I went, there was like a traffic jam in front of the hospital. And, you know, parking was much more difficult than it ever had been in the past. And that tremendous influx of patients, you know, there are other very good hospitals in the area, but the advertising works, and it attracts more people who come from some distance. They have some very good specialists and some very good people there, but the medical care isn't always that great. The communications, because they're so spread out and they're growing all the time, the communications are not terribly good. I mean, I've had instances in the last year where communications with my providers and getting things done and getting tests done and with just almost impossible, you know, I mean, it's just not just complaining, but just documenting the fact that this growth does not necessarily improve patient care. You know, just to get a prescription refilled, I had to make 14 phone calls.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I called the pharmacy, and then they said they called the doctor, and then I kept calling the doctor, and it just never got taken care of properly.
I thought the way it works is you go see the doctor, they send the prescription to the place where you get prescription up for, and you just go there and you're done.
Well, no, this was a renewal of a prescription. I was actually quite ill at the time and not able to go, so I rely on the phone. And then more recently, and again, it's not just complaining, because I can manage, you know, but just to document that it doesn't improve patient care. One doctor recommended a test that was supposed to be done at one place, and then I started getting phone calls from somebody else that I'd never heard of to go someplace else. And when I tried to straighten out what was going on and exactly what the test consisted of, the people who were responsible for making the phone calls and answering the phone couldn't tell me exactly. It appears, testing for a particular problem can be done by 2 different kinds of tests. It was just a complete mess. It got taken care of. I got it done, but I think that the quality of communications and the quality of care has gone downhill.
Yeah. At the same time, they add more people, right? So.
Well, they have more people, and they're more spread out, too. Because part of the problem was that some of the providers are now in Redwood City, and it's like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the challenges is we have a kind of an aging population, and the question is how do we take care of our elderly, right? It's actually also a really kind of key question.
Well, that's true, but I don't think these problems were related to. Well, I mean, I may need. Well, none of these things were really exactly related to aging. One was filling a prescription, and the other one was sort of an orthopedic issue.
My point is more just that there's more need for like healthcare, right? In general.
Well, probably, but I don't think that this giant influx of patients is due to that. I think it's advertising.
Oh, okay.
I sincerely, I mean, it's hard to document that for sure, but I get the impression that people come from a considerable distance, and sometimes that's totally appropriate. But those of us who live here, oddly enough, are mostly trying to avoid going to Stanford Hospital. I have a good friend who's a cancer patient. She's at El Camino. My cardiologist is at El Camino. The Stanford person, it just happens, gave me medical advice that almost killed me. I wound up, having to be rescued by, paramedics and put in intensive care.
Scary.
So it was because I followed his advice about managing a certain medication, which was inappropriate for me. So those things can happen, but it seems like their reputation for excellence is a little bit undermined by a lot of people's experience, not just myself.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's still pretty good, but a lot of people have a choice. We'll try to avoid going there. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about Stanford that I might be able to help with?
Well, I don't know. I'm wondering why you voted. Why you thought it, was a good idea not to put a cap, not to ask them to put a cap on their expansion.
Stanford.
Yeah.
Why did I vote? Well, we didn't actually vote on it because it's actually not decided by the city of Palo Alto, the general use permit.
Well, that's true.
It's actually decided on by the county.
Yeah.
So the Palo Alto City Council really did vote on it, actually.
Oh, I thought the council took a position in favor.
We wrote a letter to them.
You wrote a letter.
That was signed by the mayor.
Yeah.
But there wasn't we don't have jurisdiction over Stanford.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't actually have a. We had a recommendation. Yeah. But there's not a formal vote per se. Right?
So you were in agreement with that recommendation?
I think it was unanimous actually. I think on the Stanford letter, I think everyone voted. It was a unanimous on council. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I may have been misinformed. Somebody told me.
I think it was like a $3 million. I forgot how much it was, but basically, I think everyone on council voted the same. So I think, and then it did have a recommended limit. Now, but that's not a formal vote, right? A formal vote would be done by the board of supervisors.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a really unfortunate feature of this whole decision-making process, that the people who are most affected have no voice.
Oh, we have a voice to the county, but it's not as direct as with the city.
Yeah, and just generally in dealing with Stanford, if you haven't dealt with them before, they're really sneaky. They make commitments and then they weasel out of them. I'm not sure if it's been documented well about the parking of the no net new trips. There's a lot of talk that they're weaseling out of that by having people park off campus.
Yeah, I've heard reports of that. I don't know any, I don't think we've studied it formally, but that does seem like it's kind of not necessarily abiding to the spirit. Maybe technically, but not abiding to the spirit of it.
Well, they're good at that. They're very good at that. They also are pretty good at hiding information, like Menlo Park was caught off guard because they didn't realize the extent that of projects that Stanford had in the pipeline. So we're going to be hit with some very big projects unless our city council stops them. And overall, I mean, it's, as I said when I spoke to the council, I mean, to keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, with all the cities up and down the peninsula keep approving more and more offices, and the housing, there's, if you watch...
Also, we have an office cap, and we haven't, I mean, there hasn't been a major new office approval in probably 2-3 years.
Well, it's pretty, I have a much longer timeline than mine. I've lived here a long time. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing, yeah. And Menlo Park may be starting to put the brakes on a little bit. But as you know, Redwood City is under pressure.
Menlo Park's building quite a bit, right? I mean, I think how many new units of housing in the East Menlo Park area? I mean, it's a tremendous number, right?
Well, yeah, except, of course, and I just would remind you, I did say this to the council too, but the newspaper doesn't do anybody a lot of good by constantly referring to affordable housing when what they really mean is below market rate housing. And below market rate housing, if you study it, to get a loan to buy one of those places, you know, you have to have 2 very substantial salaries, or you couldn't even qualify for a bank loan. They're often completely out of reach for low-income workers. And in many cases out of reach even for teachers. It would take, like, at one time I calculated it would like take 5 beginning teachers to buy a 1-bedroom, quote-unquote affordable housing, below market rate,
So what do you think we should do about the affordable housing issue?
Well, really just emphasize it. You know, bite the bullet. It's a serious issue. I don't think you can build your way out of it though, because if you drive the freeways, like some of my medical providers are in Mountain View and even in San Jose, and when you see the traffic, you know, leaving this area at night and flowing into this area in the morning, you realize you can't build your way out of that kind of a housing crunch, but you can at least try to not make it worse. Which is why, you know, there's a lot of people think Stanford should be provided. If they're going to develop and attract more people, they should house them. Or maybe not attract them, as one of the speakers said, which I thought was pretty smart, that bigger is not necessarily better. You know, Stanford can be excellent, continue to be excellent without getting bigger. So I guess that's about it. But the traffic, as you may know, is really pretty crazy.
Yeah, I hear about that all the time.
Yeah, and it seems like in the last year, there's been a terrific increase in the amount of time it takes to get anywhere. So just about in the past year, I've been caught, you know, being late to appointments because I miscalculated how long it would take to get there because I thought I knew, but it's not the same anymore. So
just out of curiosity, how long did it take to get here?
Oh, it didn't take very long because it's Sunday.
Yeah. If it was on a Monday, right, it'd be a lot longer.
Yeah, it would be different, yeah. And I also kind of strategized which way to go. But yeah, Sunday's great. Sunday's
you don't have Camino from Menlo Park, or?
No, I used Junipero, Sarah, and Page Mill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Probably better.
Yeah, probably faster.
But as you may know, I mean, trying to leave Menlo Park on Sand Hill Road at commute hours is just, you know.
No, I totally know about that issue.
Yeah, and you just can't build. There's, you know, the number of people on the road. There's no way you can house them all, but you can at least not make it worse.
Sure.
But of course, then you don't even have the authority.
Well, not the case with Stanford's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would be nice to do something. Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Oh, and I would mention that the Menlo Park newspaper recently published an article reporting on a poll where they found every now and then they survey the citizens saying, you know, what they think of their quality of life. And according to the polls, the quality of life has declined
Oh, no.
in the last few years, yes.
Too bad.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming.
Okay, thank you
That's
so much.
pretty objective. Time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Getting different points of view,
Of
right?
course, that's important.
Yeah.
I'm updating the year on the voter file.
Okay.
Takes like 5 minutes for her sheet to get scroll all the way down to the bottom.
Awesome.
Good.
So the next one is about parking issues, right?
Okay, I updated the age of everyone on the voter file. 10 minutes of just holding down the mouse. He's doing an excellent job.
She's also involved.
Hello, welcome.
Hi. Hi, Greg.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, Jennifer.
Thanks
Welcome.
for having me.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for coming out the other night.
Yeah.
May I get a card? I'll give you a card.